Thursday at Wimbledon, world #1 Aryna Sabalenka was upset by 13-seed American Amanda Anisimova in a 3-set thriller on center court. Despite her Grand Slam success, Sabalenka still yet to reach the final at the All England Club. Anisimova, meanwhile, is off to her first Grand Slam final. She aims to become the first American woman to win Wimbledon since Serena back in 2016. Anisimova will face 8-seed Iga Swiatek, who took down unseeded Belinda Bencic in straight sets to advance to the final. Swiatek will be playing her first Wimbledon final and is seeking her 6th Grand Slam title. The women's singles final set for Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And for more, we welcome in CBS tennis analyst Cici Bellis. Cici, the summer of Sabalenka leaving some boxes unchecked, I think it's safe to say, falls in the final at the French and all that followed, and then again falls short here on grass. What plagued her in this semi?
Yeah, it was tough for her today. Honestly, just kind of setting the scene. Conditions were really hot, so it was similar to how the tournament and the grass was playing kind of at the beginning a couple weeks ago. Playing super fast. Grass is very dry, slippery. So I think that maybe played a little bit into it. And overall, we weren't expecting Sabalenka and Anisimova to have super long points. They're both big hitters, big servers, and serve was really kind of the story of the first set. Both were trying to put a little bit more pace on their second serve, not to get attacked. Sabalenka was the one who actually got tight at 4-5. I think she may have been thinking of that French Open final a little bit in that moment. And yeah, I mean, these two knew each other's games really well, having played 8 times prior. So going into it, they have pretty firm kind of game plans. I would say, Anisimova has one of the best backhands on tour, if not the best, especially her down the line. And they had pretty similar game styles overall, so kind of a different matchup to that French Open final where Goff is kind of more of the consistent player, defends really well. Sabalenka actually was playing someone that pretty much had the same game style as her today, so kind of handed her, a taste of her own medicine a little bit. And Anisimova actually kind of out-aggressed her today, which is not something we see often, especially with Sabalenka. And Anisimova kept Sabalenka pinned back behind the baseline, again, which is something Sabalenka is not used to. It almost looked like Sabalenka didn't really know kind of what to do, because she's normally, that type of a player, and the aggressor playing kind of like near inside the baseline. So it kind of forced her to go for low percentage shots under that pressure. And yeah, I mean, overall, it was just pretty effortless power from Amanda. I would say it was a bit mental from Sabalenka. I think, that French Open final was playing in her mind a little bit, but yeah, not her best 2 matches against Americans late in slams now. She's leaking a lot of unforced errors.
It's that idea of letting Aryna beat Aryna and just move on. And
absolutely.
We are on to the next one. Anisimova and Swiatek on Saturday for it all. What comes to mind when you put these two on center court together, and is there another upset to be had, perhaps?
Yeah, this is a tougher one. So Iga today looked incredible. I would say, the first set was the best set of tennis we've seen from Iga so far in the tournament. She dominated off the ground. She kept Bencic behind the baseline with her depth, didn't allow Bencic to get in control of points. There wasn't much Bencic could do. And, Bencic isn't the best mover. She likes to kind of cut the corners of the baseline a little bit and play inside the court, uses her redirecting shots super well. Iga didn't allow that at all with her depth. Her serve +1, both were very key for her to get into good position early into the point. I don't think we've seen Iga play as good of tennis as we're seeing right now for the whole year. She hasn't won a tournament all year, especially during the clay season, which is so surprising for someone who's won the French Open 4 times. So it is very surprising to see her in the finals of Wimbledon. I don't think anyone would have really predicted that, just given her season so far, but she's finally starting to show that kind of Grand Slam and #1 in the world kind of winning tennis that we've been so used to, seeing from her the last, 3-4 years. So I would give the edge a little bit to Iga. I think Iga's got, a much better defensive game than Sabalenka. She can throw in the slice. She can defend really well, moves a lot better than Sabalenka. So I'd say Amanda would need to come up with something, really special. Today was, a great showing of that. If she can continue that, super high level, kind of like aggressive, baseline tennis, plus her serve was working for her today, she'll give Iga a run for her money. I think Iga being so, used to these Grand Slam finals, given this is Amanda's first one, I think she might have the experience on her side a little bit.
Yeah, class above. We'll see how it all plays out on Saturday on center court. Meantime, in the men's draw, semis set for Friday, where the American Taylor Fritz will look to pull off unthinkable of his own. Set for a showdown with 2-seed and 2-time defending champion Carlos Alcaraz. On the other side, top-seeded Jannik Sinner will go head-to-head with the 7-time winner at the All England Club, the highly decorated Novak Djokovic. Cici, let's start right there with Sinner, who's here largely in part of the oft-injured Grigor Dimitrov's inability to get to the finish line. Novak, he's yet to succumb to father time, so sort of a why are you here, why are you here? We're going to find out. Do you offer advantage to youth or experience in this matchup?
Yeah, this is kind of the craziest, story from both ends here. I would give a little bit of an advantage to youth, and I'll get to why in a second. But, Sinner played Dimitrov. Dimitrov had him down 2-0. It was 2-2 in the third set. He was crushing him. Dimitrov would have won that match if he would have continued and didn't get that pec injury. The next day, Sinner did not touch a racket. He got an MRI. His elbow or kind of tricep area was really hurting him. Didn't step out on the practice court, which is not a good sign, this late into a tournament. He played his quarterfinal match against Ben Shelton, played incredibly well. It didn't look like it was bothering him at all, but that's, got to be playing in the back of your mind a little bit, especially this late into a Grand Slam. Having something that, forces you to get an MRI mid-tournament has to be serious. So that was really concerning, but again, didn't look like it bothered him too much in the quarter. And then on the other hand, Novak played one of the best matches we've seen from him all tournament, if not the best in his quarter. So he played a young Italian, super athletic guy in Cabali. That was a tricky one, but he got through it. I would give a little bit of an advantage to Sinner, even though he's been kind of dealing with that arm injury. I think Sinner, his athleticism, his pace, Novak's age has to catch up to him at some point. I think, giving Novak the benefit of the doubt here will be the best, course of action, though. I mean, the guy is the best, grass court player, if not one of all time. I think, against Sinner, he's got to come out. He's got to serve incredibly well. He can't let Sinner, kind of play that standard, incredible Sinner, close to the baseline, aggressive style, kind of good ball striking tennis. But, overall, Sinner is not that comfortable on grass. Novak is very comfortable on grass. So you got to give, the legend, a little bit of credit there. But I would say, advantage to Sinner overall.
And maybe Joker is enthused by this quest to make one last run at the current standard bearer and Carlos Alcaraz, who's questing for 3 in a row of his own. And, history at the All England Club, it tends to come in waves. And we are currently in this wave of Carlos Alcaraz, who's going to face off with Taylor Fritz. They've met twice before, never before in a Grand Slam matchup. Both have gone to Alcaraz. So let's do the same as we did on the women's side of the draw and explore that path to success for the underdog in Fritz. What must he do to push Alcaraz?
Yeah, I would say this is a really tough matchup for Fritz. He needs to serve probably one of the best days of the year for him to get through this. His game transfer is very well to grass. He's been so successful so far in this short grass season that we have every year. He's won 2 warm-up tournaments coming into Wimby, obviously now making the semifinals. He's very comfortable on the surface. He's been serving incredibly well. His backhand is very flat, so it kind of takes to the grass well. And, after that serve, he can, kind of get into a good position in the point with the forehand. So he's been using that pattern really, really well. I would say he can't let Alcaraz exploit his movement as a bit of his weakness, which Alcaraz is so good at doing. So I would say a couple of things need to happen. He's got to serve incredibly well. He's got to mix it up with Alcaraz. He can't, play the same patterns. He's got to keep him guessing a little bit. Got to stay on the offensive. Alcaraz is so good on the defensive, but, you never want to see Alcaraz with a short forehand inside of the court. And then he's got to catch Alcaraz on a bit of an off day, I think, with how well Alcaraz is playing. Alcaraz is on an insane, I don't even know how many match winning streak he's on right now, winning Rome, the French, and now, a warm-up tournament before Wimbledon and then coming into the semis here. He's operating on an insane level of confidence. So I would say he needs to come and, maybe not show up at 100% for Fritz to win this one.
So be perfect and then pray is the strategy
Yes.
on the other side of Alcaraz here. If I'm hearing this correctly, it sounds like we're heading in your eyes towards Sinner Alcaraz, and we'd be so lucky to watch that one play out in the final. Who is your pick to win Wimbledon this year?
Yeah, another tough question. I do think we're headed to a rematch of the French Open this year. Sinner had that final French Open match on the ropes. He had match points, not on his serve, but on Alcaraz's serve. That's got to still be playing in his head. That's got to still be, somewhat of an open wound and kind of in the back of his mind in the semis here, knowing Alcaraz is in the other semi. So I think if they both make the final, I will actually give a little bit of an advantage to Sinner, just because I think overall his game technically would transfer to grass better. I'm going to pick Sinner. I think that is like the unpopular opinion here, knowing that Alcaraz is, the 2-time defending champion. He won the French Open, but I don't know. I'm backing Sinner's game on grass more than I'm backing Alcaraz. Everyone likes to kind of compare and contrast these two players. I would say overall Sinner's been more consistently good and is kind of the more like, I would say like level in terms of like game and you know, style, whereas Alcaraz has way higher highs and way lower lows than Sinner. So again, it kind of depends on which Alcaraz shows up, but I would give an advantage to Sinner. I think that's the unpopular opinion, but I'm going with it.
Well, we have a fun weekend of tennis out in front of us. Cici, we appreciate your insight as always. Here's a look at the odds. To complete that feat, Sinner, Cici says, take a look. At better than 2-to-1 money, your second favorite behind Carlos Alcaraz, who has rattled off the last 2 titles at Wimbledon. Will it be 3 in a row on Sunday?